Omar McCallop, and we are back with another episode of AskALenderPodcast. And today I have the lovely Miss Walker with me. Tell us where you're from and tell us a little bit about you.
I'm Adele Walker, and I have been a real estate agent for 9 years, and I specialize in Johnston County, and my office is in Selma.
Okay. So tell us about your brokerage, your firm that you with.
I'm with Real Broker,
Hmm.
LLC, and I started with them probably about 6 months ago.
Okay.
It could be a little bit longer, but
Okay.
it's approximately 6 months.
So speaking of that, we met. This is not the first time we've met.
Correct.
We had breakfast when I first became a lender. How long ago was that? It was what? Was it a year ago, maybe?
It may have been a year
About
already.
a year ago. So
Yeah,
at that
time
point,
flies.
you were with a different firm, right?
Yes, I
Okay.
was.
And so now you transitioned into a new firm.
Correct.
All right. So
Yes.
were there plus or minuses? What made you make the switch?
I was opening my own office,
Mm-hmm.
and it just became an issue with the other company that there was they wanted someone else working out in the Selma area. So I
Okay.
decided I needed to change up and go to
Spread
a
your
company
wings.
and get out
Cool.
and meet new people.
So when we had breakfast and met, you were kind of already in that transition, just hadn't finished yet, or it was in the middle of it?
I wasn't totally sure what I was going to do.
Mhm.
I was really up in the air. I really didn't want to leave my old company, but I knew that was a possibility that had to come.
Okay. So we have this conversation a lot on the show, talking about, big firms, small firms, boutique firms, all of that in between. As a former agent myself, I always say that you just got to find your fit, right? I haven't seen a one size fits all because people are different, their needs are different, what they want out of their real estate career is different. So, you can't really put it in a box. So, what's your philosophy as far as you were with someone else, now you have your own, versus have you ever worked for a big what I call big box firm?
No, never.
No, you don't seem like a big box firm person. Everything that I've seen and read about you and things about like that, you don't seem like a big box firm person. So what do you look at when you're making or have had to make those decisions in the past?
So for me, I've always been extremely independent, and I love to do my own thing. I know that I work a lot harder than a lot of people sometimes want to work. So I definitely needed something where I can be able to go at my own pace and be able to get to my goals that I needed to go. Everyone has different goals. There's some people that are meant to be with teams that need to be observed, and they have the employee mentality.
Right.
I've never had that employee mentality. I need to be on my own and just go. And I knew that was the way to go with the company that I chose.
Yeah, I mean, I was the same way. I didn't. Once I finished once I passed my classes and all that on the real estate side, you get all the calls and all that type of stuff, and I just that works for some people going in the office 9 o'clock every morning. You got this big team, you get the big speech and that type of thing, and I was like you said, it's kind of more of a employee atmosphere
Correct.
to a degree, which that worked for me. Out of real estate school, I went with Fathom because it's a type of entity where I could just kind of do my own thing. Now later, I went into more of a little, not total big box, but maybe midway, and that was okay. But I think I'm kind of more of or was more of a entrepreneurial, if you will, real estate agent. But lending is certainly like that. I think across the board. I don't know, unless you work for a bank, you don't really have 90%, from my perspective, 90% of because you hang your license in lending, similar to
Right.
like in real estate, but I don't see as many quote unquote big box lender entities. They were mostly independent, just I guess the nature of the lender business, so to speak. So how did you tell me how you got into real estate in general? Was it like a lifelong dream, or you just kind of jumped into it? How did you get into real estate as a whole?
No, I had done my lifelong dream job, and unfortunately, I ended up going through a divorce.
Okay.
And then
You said fortunately.
Yeah,
Good.
it was kind of fortunate. It was fortunate and unfortunate at the same time.
Okay.
But I had to find a way to make money for my family, for
Okay.
my children and I. And I decided that I was going to do real estate. So I kind of jumped in with both feet.
Wow.
And 9 years later, I'm still here at it.
Oh, wow. So when you jumped into, so it was a kind of more of a necessity thing for you as far as like, hey, I'm not in the situation I was in before, so now I gotta, figure out a career in real estate. Was it for you?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. Yeah. I had my career. I was a police officer. It was the best job in the world in
Get
my
out of
eyes.
here. Wow.
But I then decided to stay home and raise my children, which was the most important job. And then going through the divorce, I realized I needed to get back into working. And
Right.
so real estate was my footing.
And it kind of gave you, real estate is kind of the thing where you work all the time, but you control your schedule, right?
Correct.
You work all the time.
Yeah.
Your phone is always on, but at the
Yes.
same time, you control your schedule. So if you have to be a certain place with your kids and things of that nature, you can kind of outline your schedule to make that happen. Is that where you found the flexibility of it for?
Yes, I did. Yeah, now my children are all adults now, so
Oh, wow.
it's total flexibility. But yeah, that's what it was in the beginning.
Right.
Absolutely, it was to benefit my family and be able to be there for my children.
Now, how old were your children when you started?
So my children when I started, so my youngest is 23, so he was 12. I had 12, 13, and 16, 17.
You got
So
adult kids.
I've got
now.
4 children. Yeah, my kids are all adults. My baby is 23,
Oh my
who's
goodness.
a very successful real estate agent in West Palm Beach, Florida.
Oh, okay, I was gonna say we should have had both of you guys up here when he comes up. When he comes to visit.
Yeah, he's extremely successful. He actually works with $1 million people. He sells in Palm Beach. And then I've got 24-year-old and 26 and 27-year-old
Oh
children.
man,
So,
that's
yes.
cool. Congratulations. My oldest she just turned 20 in April.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's my oldest, and my youngest is 15. So I'm not quite empty nester,
Almost
but
there,
I'm
yeah.
about 3 years away. Then I'm not looking forward to it and looking forward to it at the same time.
Yeah, it was a very hard transition.
Yeah.
Very hard.
So jumping back a little bit, you were a police officer.
Yes.
I would not imagine you as a police officer. How was that? I can't even say how does that compare to real estate because they're like night and day, right? But you say you love being a police officer. Where were you a police officer at?
In Florida.
In Florida. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And so how did you get here? How did you get from Florida to North Carolina?
My ex-husband had gotten a job transfer out here.
Okay.
And it had been a lifelong dream to live in Tennessee, North Carolina area.
Mhm.
And he got the job in North Carolina. And then that's how we relocated here. But like I said, and then we ended up getting divorced.
Right.
And he went back to Florida.
Life happens.
Yeah.
So I always ask this question: because we have different real estate agents come on the show. Obviously, what makes you and your firm different from other firms? What's your kind of like, hey, this is what separates me type deal?
Well, what made me choose my firm was that there wasn't competition among the agents,
Right.
where I saw that with other companies.
Absolutely.
And other agents. People feel that they've got to be very competitive.
Right.
And I feel there's enough business out there for everyone.
Right.
We've got homes on every single corner here in Wake County, Johnson County. I don't think every agent could handle every single home.
Right.
So I love the collaboration.
Yeah.
We have a meeting right up the block here. Once a month, they have coffee and collaboration where there's probably about 15 other companies that come out and we all sit in a room together and just collaborate and get ideas and help each other. You don't see that. Where do you see that?
Yeah, it's very rare. I hear that a lot. And I think some companies are trying to move more towards that direction, but it's hard. I think it's a function of mindset. You can choose to compete or you can choose to collaborate. And like you said, there's enough business for everybody, but it's where you start from here, in my opinion. I've seen people that made competition that could have easily been collaboration,
Right.
just a discussion and a mindset. But no, I've seen more companies internally that want to compete. I've seen some that are kind of migrating slowly but surely to the collaboration model, but the majority of them is kind of like the whole dog eat dog type of thing.
Right.
So, and I've heard that from a lot of agents, they don't want to be in that type of environment. And I think that not to deep dive, but I think that coming out of like COVID, I think people's mindsets have changed a little bit when it comes to work. It's like, hey, I don't want to work in that aggressive environment. I want to work in an environment that makes me as happy as I can be, and is work with people, not against people. So I definitely get. So that's your differentiating factor for the firm. For the to the client, I guess what's your niche? What's your specialty as an agent from the client perspective?
So when I first started real estate, I had a niche. My niche was law enforcement and firefighters, first responders. I pay a portion of my commission to help closing costs. And I still offer that, but I don't get to do it as often because it kind of evolved into everyone just referring me because I had that little niche. Mm-hmm. So I kind of don't have that niche anymore. I think my niche is the Hispanic market.
Okay.
I speak Spanish, and I have gotten lots of sales from my Hispanic market, especially I'm Puerto Rican. We've got a huge Puerto Rican market out here.
Absolutely.
And so all my Puerto Ricans go out and they tell other ones, and then I get calls from them. So we're really excited about that. There's not many agents that really refer. There's not many people that market just to the Hispanic market. So I think that that's really become my niche recently in the last couple of years.
Okay. Yeah, we started to market more to that community as well, especially with some of our different types of products. I think one time me and you spoke about sometimes the I-10 loans. Yes. are important to that community because sometimes you have to come up with creative ways. And also, I think culturally, there's some challenges that you have to be aware of in the community. And I didn't getting in as a lender, I saw a lot of people kind of ignoring that because it was a little bit more difficult, or at least in their minds, or you have to take an extra step in order to do that. So I think one of the things that we did is try to have what I call an unofficial I-10 department, so that we have people on staff that specifically focus on those types of loans, so that we can provide the best customer service possible in that space. And back to the cultural side, and the same thing from the perspective of my community. I had one lady to where her grandmother, we had to have a conversation about seasoning the funds. I know my dad. My dad is a small town guy. I can tell you right now, my dad has money buried all over the house, and this is a true thing. He has money in areas all over the house for rainy days. I think historically, there was not a trust for banks. So people kept money under the mattress and places like that.
Yep, and that's the big thing with the Hispanic market.
Yep,
We've got people that have got money in the market. I got a call recently. I had of a gentleman. He's got $70,000 cash. Well, where is it? Right. Well, it's not in the bank.
It's under the mattress, right?
And it's like, okay, we've got to educate them. You need to put the money in the bank.
Season it.
Yes.
Yeah. And this lady, man, her grandma, and I went to real estate school with the agent, and even sometimes people that are in real estate on the agent side are not fully aware of all the rules on the lending side. Right. And she was like, "Hey, my grandma's going to give me $80,000 to help me." It was an investment property, and I said, "Okay, we have to go through these steps," and she has to sign. As soon as I said sign something, Grandma doesn't, want to sign anything. Grandma just wants to say, "Hey, you're my granddaughter. I want to help you. I've been saving this money forever. Here you
Right.
go. And I said, if she, if we can't get her on any documentation, then she can gift you the money, and then you have to season it yourself. But I can't do anything with it until I can get, to be safe, a 45-day track record on the fund. So
Right.
but like I said, I've seen lenders not want to take that extra step to serve that community, and that's unfortunate. But not me, not your favorite lender. I don't do that. So definitely there's a huge a Latin market, Hispanic market in this area. So that's a wonderful niche to have. What are you looking forward to as far as the future of real estate, like over the next 6 months? What do you kind of see the market and, look into your crystal ball?
Um, from what I'm seeing in just the last couple of months is just people just moving here tremendously.
Oh, I know.
I mean, last weekend, and I think that's why we were supposed to meet, and I got really sick. Well,
Right.
all day Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I was out with 3 different buyers. Friday, he was here from Boston. Saturday was Miami, and Sunday was Rochester, New York.
Oh my goodness.
I was back to back. That when I got home Sunday night, I just started feeling really,
Tired.
really worn down, and
Yeah.
I got so sick I lost my voice.
Oh no.
Everything. So I definitely see people are moving out here. They're
Yeah.
just seeing North Carolina is an amazing state to live in.
It's exploding so much, and I love it, but it's a little scary at the same time.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, not too much type. So I've told people, some of my business partners and investors and things of that nature, like, this is the next major market. I think nationally, I think you're going to see, the Raleigh, Wake County area just continue to explode because it's beautiful. We have great weather. It's never really too hot or too cold. Like maybe 1 month in the summer and 1 month in the winter.
Right.
The rest of the year is kind of like, hey, it's 70 degrees in November. It's probably not as great as Florida. For me, Florida is like too hot. I was in Florida in August, September, and I'm like, yo, why is it still so hot here? By the time September rolls around, I needed to come away from the 90s. So it was still 90 and some change.
See, I love the heat. See, I'm originally from New York,
Okay.
so I'm a halfback. I went from New York to Florida,
Okay.
and then I came to North Carolina. And the only thing I miss about Florida, well, besides my children, is the weather.
Right.
I love the heat, but my heart is in North Carolina. And I think
Absolutely.
people are realizing that. The people here are absolutely amazing. You
Yeah.
can't go anywhere without meeting people.
It's an easy place to live, right? I told you, I was like, it's like, hey, why do you guys love North? What's so great about, because I have New York college buddies and fraternity buddies, New York and California, Texas, and like, I was like, it's just an easy place to live. I mean, you get some traffic every now and then, but for the most part, if you skip morning rush hour and you skip 5 o'clock, you're fine.
All right.
So it costs to live, and it's just an easy place to live. That's the best way to explain it. When I'm in Atlanta, I can get traffic anytime.
Right.
Like 2 o'clock, 10 a.m. I'm like, why aren't you guys at work at 10 a.m. It's traffic. So it's certainly an easy place to live. I ask this question, and a lot of times I get the mid-range answer, but what's your favorite between buyer's agent and seller's agent, or listing agent, I should say?
I love being a listing agent.
Do you? Okay.
Yeah.
You came right out with a lot of people. Well, I like both, and I'm like, no. I know you like both, but which one do you?
I
like
love
more?
being a listing agent because it gives me the opportunity to be able to go on vacation. And I love to spend time with my husband.
Right.
We love to go away. So being a listing agent is great. And I get to help people on their new chapter of their life. I just got a listing yesterday. They're moving to New Mexico.
Oh, wow.
So I get to help them on their last chapter of life. They're an older couple.
Yeah.
So I really enjoy that. I do love my buyers as well.
Right.
But listings are just a lot easier, I think.
I think like 90%, not 90, that's probably high. About 80% of the people that I talk to are probably on the listing side, just because, one, I think most people, even they may not say it, listing is a little bit more of a guarantee, at least in this market. If you're getting listing,
Correct.
you know it's going to sell.
Correct.
At some point, especially in Wake County. But if get a buyer, a lot of different things can happen.
Oh,
A
yes.
lot of different things can happen, and so for that reason, I think people lean a little bit more on the listening side. But I have had people come on the show, and they just love the constant interact. They're just what I call super. You have to be somewhat of a people person to be an agent in general,
Right.
but they're like super people. So they love the back and forth and the showings and all of that stuff. I was never that when I was an agent. I was, as a matter of fact, I went into some firms and I was like, listen, I just want to list. I only want to list. I did some buyer's agent when it was like somebody I knew or personal things of that nature. But for the
Right.
most part, I was just like, hey, let
Right.
me list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why I'm trying to expand at Real in my office in Selma, and I'm looking for buyer's agents because I
Right.
do have listings, and I would love to get some buyer's agents.
Right. Absolutely. So tell me a little bit about you're based in Johnston County.
Yes.
So right outside, for people who don't know, Wake County is probably I think it's the largest county in the state, if I'm not mistaken. It's pretty massive all over the place, but it has a ton of what I would call bedroom communities and counties surrounded. And Johnston County is one of those, with the biggest city being Clayton.
Clayton,
Yep.
yes,
And
that's
Clayton,
overgrown.
exploding. I drive, so I go to Clayton because my son plays football, and we train at Clayton High School, who has amazing turf fields, by the way. So shout out to Clayton High School for those turf. We love playing on turf fields. May rain and stuff, doesn't matter. So I'm back and forth to Clayton for that reason, and it's just they're building. It's gorgeous. I love it. I think about, like, man, who's gonna live in all of these places? You need people to come to Clayton because they're building like crazy.
Uh, well, I think it's overgrown. That's where I originally moved to, was Clayton.
Mhm.
When I first moved here in 2010, went to Cary, and then finally went to Johnston County, probably about 2013, 2014. And Clayton was really quiet. It was
Right.
awesome.
Right.
And I remember people saying, why would you go out there? It's dead. I'm like, no, it's going
That's
to
what
explode.
it has.
And I was right. And now Selma, which we are 15 minutes from Clayton, has just is exploding just as much because people
Really?
are getting out of Clayton and coming to Selma. We have our first brewery. We've got a first big
In
bar.
Selma?
They came from New York. Yep,
Wow.
we have a bar that came. They're from New York City. They own a tea house called Harney and Sons, and then they
wow.
opened up a bar called Quantum Toad out there. We have our dive bar, which is the Joco Bar. It's the oldest bar in Johnson County, still open.
Wow.
It's called the Alley Bar. So we've got 2 restaurants now in downtown Selma.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I have.
our third restaurant is working on it, a Jamaican restaurant, which we're pretty
Okay.
excited. We've got a Cajun Louisiana.
You know, it's
plus
small
fried food.
when you can count the restaurants.
Yeah, but it's just really, really awesome how our town is growing, the entire Johnston County.
I don't have a reason to go to Selma, but I'm gonna have to make
Well,
a trip
we've
out
got
there.
Rockin' on Rayford. It's the 3rd Thursday of every month.
Okay.
It's this Thursday is one. We close off the streets and we have a band. Now, I don't know if you know, but the most popular band that will be at Rockin' on Rayford will be July 18th. It's the 3rd Thursday.
Okay.
They're called Soul Psychedelic Orchestra, and they perform all over. They perform in Cary and in other states and everything.
Okay.
The head singer has performed as a backup singer for many bands, and it's a whole orchestra, Soul Psychedelic.
And
You've got to look it up. They're
Rockin'
amazing.
on Rayford, is Rayford the street?
Rayford Street is our main street in downtown.
Rockin' on Rayford.
Rockin'
I like that
on
name.
Rayford. Yep. Streets are
That sounds
closed
like
off.
fun.
It is a blast.
Oh, cool.
You come on out. We're a social district, so you can buy drinks at the bars that we have there and walk around the streets and listen to music.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
Selma. Huh?
Yeah,
I don't
Selma.
go that far. I know that, and that's happening all around with kind of like, if whatever direction you go, you just have this continuous sprawl. People move out to the Claytons of the area, and then once the Claytons start to expand, people just like, all right, later for this, and they move out a little further and move out a little further. So,
And another thing that we have
uh-oh.
is the 8th annual, we have the Joco Latino Festival.
Oh,
and it's
wow.
held in Selma. There's a new organization, a Latino organization, nonprofit, who has taken over the festival. It's
Okay.
on May 12th, Mother's Day.
Oh, wow.
We're still looking for vendors. We've got all the food trucks and everything. It's on Sunday from 1 to 6.
Okay.
And it's a really great event for our Hispanic market. And people do not realize that Clayton is number one in our the count for Hispanics in Clayton, and Selma is number 2.
Oh, wow. I definitely didn't know.
In
So
Johnson County.
make sure if you're coming to Raleigh, you can't find a place in Raleigh, you got to check out Clayton's and Selma.
Correct. And we've got all the antique and thrift stores as well.
Yeah,
We're
I'm gonna have
known
to
for
get out
antiques.
there. So I always ask, what was your best real estate experience and your worst real estate experience? I'll let you decide which one you want to tell first.
So in 9 years, I've actually had tremendous amount of great experience, except in the last year. Probably my worst, so it would be my worst experience was recently, probably less than 6 months ago. I had a client all approved, and they were getting a house, and mortgage company really just screwed over my people.
Oh,
Just
no.
long story short, they ended up not buying a house right now. They are, I think, working with another lender. They've got another lender now.
Right.
But they were very upset, and
that's
understandably upset. So, and I was very upset for them.
Right.
I was more embarrassed. And that's definitely been my worst. That's my first in 9 years, really.
Wow. And that should never, I mean, if you got everything else done, the lender should be the last thing that causes the problem.
Yeah, it was definitely. So that was definitely my worst. And my best, wow, I've got so many best stories. I've got, I call them, I hate to say my favorite clients, but they know who they are. I've got several favorite clients that I'll go out and they call me and everything. And they're just really great people that I invite to personal events. They've become friends.
Right.
And that's the best part of this business, is that you get to meet some really great people, and you end up meeting some great friends, lifelong friends.
Yeah, I can see the joy that you have with real estate and helping people, and then, building those relationships. And, like you said, you are able to just connect with people that, you can always, have a friendship with. So that's really cool. So I also like to get into and we've talked about this before, but what are your top 2 things that you look for when you refer or work with a lender?
I need a lender who's available all the time, which is really sad, but it is, because I usually get the calls that nobody answers.
Right.
So I answer those calls. So sometimes I'll have someone call and they just need someone immediately, and they need to know. And sometimes I know they won't get approved,
Right.
but I don't feel that that's my job. My job is to find them a home, and I think that a lender should be able to build a relationship with my clients as well.
Absolutely.
I want them to be able to tell them, if they're not approved, I want to guide them through the process. Listen, you're not approved now. I can't approve you now, but if you work on these steps,
Absolutely.
I can get you approved in 6 months. It may even be a year. And that's, they'll call me, and then I'll have lenders who I totally forgot I referred them a year ago. Hey, do you remember so-and-so? And I have said, no, I don't remember.
Right.
I can tell you, my client from Miami was someone that I had referred to a lender a while back, and she ended up calling me saying, I'd been working with them. I was like, you have?
Oh, man,
I
that's
forgot.
cool.
They hadn't even called me. And I ended up taking them, and we're under contract now from, a home. So that's what I love, is that we can work together, and if the lender can help them on that lender side, I don't like to talk, there's agents that will go over numbers with their clients and go over and ask their personal stuff. Like I said, I'm a real estate agent. I want to sell you that house. I feel
Right.
that lender should be able to go over those numbers with you and explain to you. I don't need to know your money history and why
Right.
you did that. If you want to share with me just to tell me as an additional person,
Right.
I'm here to listen.
Absolutely.
But I think that the lender is
Everybody
really
has to do their
required.
job.
Yeah, it has
Yeah.
to do their job.
Yeah, I mean, and if you go back and watch some of the previous podcasts, you really took the words out of my mouth. Being a relatively new lender and coming from the agent side, I've seen a lot of lenders not really work with people because they were not ready right now. And
Mm-hmm.
like I said, that's never been my philosophy. And coming from an agent side, you're building a relationship with that person because they have obviously shown to the desire to own a home. So at that point, they're a client of mine. At that point, we start the relationship there. And if they're not able to get approved right then we create a path. We look at the credit, we look at what's going on with your DTI, and say, hey, let's do these things over the next 3 to 6 months and move on and get there. Like, what's the path to home ownership if that space is not there right then? And so I hope that changes more. That's always been my philosophy, but I'd like to see that change more in the lending industry as a whole because, like you said earlier, I can't take every loan. I can't, even as much as probably bank account would like to, is virtually impossible
Right.
without sacrificing quality service to my clients.
Correct.
And so I can easily say I'd like to see lenders as a. It doesn't. I think some people's like, well, you don't want to see lenders as a whole improve. Yes, I do because that helps people and it helps the industry overall. So I think that's hopefully more and more people move into that space to where just because a person's not ready right now, part of the job, in my opinion at least, is to help them to get ready. Now, I communicate because I see myself, the client, and the agent as a team.
Correct.
So I focus on keeping the agent updated if they want to be updated. So they have knowledge. So they're not just sitting in the dark like, hey, I wonder what's going on, with the person. So I like to keep them not necessarily numbers and that type of thing, but at least make them aware like, hey, this is where we are. I'm talking to the person just so that they know that, you know, information. I found that a lot of lenders, if there's nothing going on or they don't have good news, they'll go radio silent. But again, they don't understand it from the agent side and the client side. No news is bad news a lot of times because you're wondering what's going on with probably the most important transition of your life.
Yeah, and I can give you a story just recently. It just seems like the last year I've had some really bad issues with some lenders.
Well, that's
So
because you didn't call
I've
me.
got no, I know that now. But so let me give you a story. I just closed one last week that was supposed to close several months ago. Okay,
Oh,
the lender never told me that the person had quit their job and then switched jobs. And the buyer never told me. He kept staying quiet from me, and I didn't know what was going on. Lender's like, well, there's just some issues. I can't tell you what it is. I find out right before closing, it was because he had switched jobs. Well, I would have loved to have known that a lot sooner. All right, we ended up getting it closed, thankfully, 2 months later because of the switch of jobs.
Why couldn't he tell?
He says he wasn't allowed to tell. I was like,
the only scenario that I know that he couldn't tell you is if the client specifically asked him not to, and I think that's more of a courtesy than a rule. I could see that if the client says, "Hey, I don't want her to know it's personal." I can kind of see that because you don't want to break that trust. But unless he specifically, the client explicitly said that, it's kind of like.
And I don't think it was, but yeah, it was. It was
we're a
definitely.
Team. It's a 3-person team to get to the finish line. Yeah. You won't have that problem anymore because you can just.
Absolutely. We'll be giving you a
call. So thank you for coming today. We appreciate you. I'm really, really happy that you are in the agent space because I feel like you just bring a bubbly happiness to the industry as a whole and to the people that you work with for the time that I've known you and what
Thank
I've
you.
seen you do. You're just, active and happy. And sometimes that's energy that people need, sometimes when things don't go, the way that you want them to, especially coming out of COVID and people are still dealing
Mhm.
with that in some ways. People, yes, I want to say it's gone, but we're much, healthier and better, but there's still
Mhm.
some
Right.
ramifications from being, locked in the house for a couple of years.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's gonna stick with you. And so as much positivity and happiness as we can find.
Yeah.
I coach sports and I tell my kids um, find something to be excited about. Find something to be happy about. And I promise you it's out
Mhm.
there somewhere because my mom would always say, hey, somebody's having a worse day than you. She was like, I guarantee somebody's having a worse day than you. So always try to find, something to be happy and excited about. And every time I see you, you're happy and
Uh,
excited. So
well,
that's a
thank you.
good
Thank
thing.
you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So before we go, anything else you want to talk about real estate wise in general that we didn't talk about?
No, I definitely appreciate the time and being given the opportunity to be able to
Absolutely.
get my story out there.
Absolutely. Now before we end, let everybody know how they can contact you, how they can reach you, phone
Okay.
number, social media, etc.
I have a website and a Facebook page, and it's pretty simple. It's Adele Sells NC. .com, and then my email's at gmail.com, but it's Adele Sells NC. Also, you can reach me by my phone number is 919-763-6771. And I invite everyone to come out to Rockin' on Rayford in Selma. And if you're out in Selma, please come out and check us out. I do have my office there, and I also own an antique and thrift store there. So come on in and check us out.
Oh,
We are at what we
cool.
have Walker's Treasure Box downtown Selma as well.
All right, I'm gonna backtrack. How'd you get involved in the antique shop? How did that come about?
So my husband, I'm remarried now,
Okay.
and my awesome husband actually used to collect, which I thought was junk when I met him, and I actually made him throw everything
I
out.
was gonna say, did you make him like, listen, if we're
Yes,
gonna get married, you gotta get rid of this
he
mess.
did an entire garage.
Oh
He
no!
went to work because he was in love and said, whatever you want to
my
do.
goodness!
And he said, well, if you want to get rid of it. So what I did while he was at work, I put on Facebook, garage filled of items for free. Come.
Oh my
Had
gosh!
carloads of people come and pack his garage. Um, and then we ended up moving to Florida. We tried Florida for 2 years again. Well, he had never left Johnson. North Carolina. He's a North Carolina boy, and I took him to Florida for 2 years to try it out. And I started working at a Goodwill in Sarasota and realized the millions of dollars that come through. And I went home that day and I said, I've got to apologize to you.
Well, you know what? That's big of you to apologize because
Oh, yes.
I know a lot of people. I won't say women or anything, but I know a lot of people that would have just smoothed over it and kept going.
Yeah, I told my husband, I apologize. And I think maybe you should start buying storage units like you used to do when I thought it was junk.
What did he say?
And he said, really? And we did. And we opened up a 3,000 square foot store in Florida. Realized I needed to get back to North Carolina. Hated it. Closed it and came back to North Carolina and said, we don't want to rent. Let's buy. And an opportunity came to buy this building in Selma where we could have our business downstairs, my real estate office downstairs, and live upstairs.
Oh man, it's a win-win.
So it was a win-win for us. But yeah, because people throw out things, people lose things at storage units. That's what we do. We specialize in buying storage units. And we opened up this Walker's Treasure Box. And my husband
I have
runs
a
it.
whole garage. My garage is full of stuff. I might use that idea. Like, listen, if you want anything in this garage, come get it. That'll help me clean out my own. So is your husband going to be at Rockin' on Rayford? I got to meet this man.
Our store's open. We're open. Oh, the Rockin' on Rayford is from 5:30 till 9 p.m. And we keep our store open till 9 p.m. so people can come shop our store. And like I said, all the bars are open and the restaurants.
Let me tell you, that's a special kind of love when you say, You can throw away all my stuff if you want to.
Yes, yes, yeah. I knew he was a keeper.
Right.
He was a keeper. Yes, yes. And in May we celebrate 5 years married. So.
Oh, cool! Congratulations. Well, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you all you guys for tuning in to this episode, and we'll see you next time.